Good morning to all of you, or a few of you, as it is. It usually takes a few minutes for folks to join the stream. Hello, Eric. Good morning. Good morning, Susan. Good to see you here this morning. Looking forward to everyone joining us for what is going to be, I think, a pretty fun experience. So, as you know, the last several weeks, last month we had a bunch of new coffees that were released, and we spent a lot of time looking at these fantastic coffees from Latin America. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been doing a little bit more focus on some of the other coffees we have, in addition to the new releases. And now we're going to take another step into the process with Bob Benck, Batdorf Green Bean Buyer, and we're actually going to be looking at a part of his job, which is evaluating coffees and samples in preparation for coffees that he's going to consider purchasing for us and for you. So with no further ado, I'll open up Bob's chat here. There he is. He's already in the Bob Benck Ceremonial Cupping Lab, also known as the Benck Family Kitchen. And he's breaking the coffees. Now, as you recall, we've gone through the cupping process. He's done aromatics on the freshly ground coffee, and now he has added water with a wet sniff, and then he's now broken the coffees. Is that where we're at, Bob? Yep.
That is where I'm at. Unfortunately, my Bonavita water gooseneck kettle didn't have enough water for my last sample, but I'll remedy that here shortly. But yeah, so as always, thanks for inviting me to join you guys, Josh. Just as we kind of started, me on Wednesdays way back in the day, the idea was that we normally would be doing our company Wednesday cupping, like we do at 10 o'clock, where all employees are invited to come taste coffees, whether it's stuff that we currently have in the inventory or potential new stuff like I have today. So in the spirit of that, I decided to line up 6 different potential Ethiopian coffees. This is the time of year when a lot of new crop coffees from Eastern Africa start showing up. I've seen samples from Kenya, Ethiopia. I mentioned to you earlier, in fact, I was roasting, I haven't tasted it yet, but a couple samples from Uganda as well. So a lot of new interesting stuff showing up right now.
You mentioned that, and it's a good time for us to mention and maybe throw in a little link there below, producers. We do have Harar, our natural Harar, back in our lineup, but my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is maybe that's just a little bit of a filler as you look at these coffees here that you have on the table today.
Yeah, so as always, there's certain coffees we like to have year-round. A natural Ethiopian offer is one that we like to keep in the lineup. The Harar that we have right now is the same Harar that we had previously in the year. We kind of filled it in with that Guji, the Ethiopian Sidamo Guji that we had for a few weeks, that I know you guys had tasted on a couple different occasions. So this is we're just sort of in a little bit of a holding pattern right now until these coffees, land stateside, clear in warehouses, and then we get them shipped to our roastery. So my anticipation is that we will have a new crop offer from Ethiopia here probably within the next month or so.
Oh, that's fantastic news. That's awesome. So when it comes to this process where you've received samples, you say that the crops are kind of coming out and being offered now. What is the timeline usually from when someone sends you a sample through the process by which you cup and try it, and then we get to actually having something in our roastery, ready to start roasting?
Yeah, so usually I get a chance to take a peek at what are called the pre-shipment samples, coffees that are in a warehouse at origin. Um, Sometimes even prior to that, a type sample that will come out, early in the harvest, just to kind of get an idea what sort of quality we're looking at, or what the generally cup profile is going to look like. But there's an expression that I heard a long time ago is, markets move fast and coffee moves slow, right? So the significance of that is, these are coffees that were harvested in January, February. It's July going on August right now. So realistically, that cycle between the time the coffee's harvested till the time that it ships, lands, clears, we get it moved to our warehouse, we get it in the roasteries, we, play around, experiment with some roast profiles with it. It's a 6-month process. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm going to get up and clean these real fast while I'm talking, so don't think I'm just running away. I'm not bailing on anybody here, all right?
Yeah, no worries. So while you're doing that, I know that you'd mentioned that there's a combination of East African coffees there, or Ethiopian coffees, I should say, since the Uganda's not there, and that there was a combination of washed and natural.
Yeah, so I have 6 coffees total. 4 of them are natural processed coffees. 2 of them are fully washed coffees.
So when I think of African coffees, it's just probably just something that was taught to me long ago before I learned more. But I always think of natural processed coffees when I think of African. But of course, as you're demonstrating right now, you have more washed coffees on, or you do have more natural on the table. But there are, would you say, just as many washed varieties coming out of Africa?
Yeah, I think that there was a push from the Ethiopian government for a while to produce more washed coffees. Idea at the time was to, raise quality in general.
Sure.
That's not to say that you're going to get better quality coffees when you do a wash process coffee. I think, we collectively talk a lot about, maintaining quality and what you can do at a process level to kind of maintain the integrity of these coffees. And the natural process has come a long way in terms of what people do in order to mitigate some of the risk that's inherently involved with doing natural processed coffees. Historically, there's a lot of risk there. You mentioned your history or your first experiences with Ethiopian coffees, and I think you're not alone in that. Sort of that first cup of Harar, or that first cup of Sidamo or Yurgachev, that's a natural process. Just toss this in real quick. Often we'll refer to natural processed coffees in Ethiopia as sun-dried. Sometimes those terms are kind of used interchangeably, and I just like to, remind people that all these coffees are sun-dried, whether they're washed or natural. They're dried on patios. They're dried on actually on elevated beds is more common now for your quality coffees. So if you hear someone say sun-dried, it may mean natural process. But in this case, I'm going to say natural process versus wash process, and all those coffees are sun-dried. But I just kind of briefly threw out the elevated bed. Picking coffee up off the ground has paid huge dividends in terms of ultimate cup quality. That runaway fermentation flavor, that moldy flavor, perhaps, just dirty, inconsistent cups. A lot of that has been mitigated over the past, 10 years when we've improved some of these processing methods at origin.
I think that's a good point to also just to check in for understanding with people who are watching now. I know we have a lot of staff watching, but in addition, just to make sure folks understand the key difference when Bob talks about washed process and natural process was really a step in between getting in which they remove fruit and then remove the mucilage, usually through water, often through soaking those seeds to remove the mucilage after the skin and the fruit's been removed. And then it can go and be quote unquote sun dried. Whereas with the natural process, literally the coffee is picked and then goes directly to the sun drying component that they're referencing. And it's just good for folks to understand that key difference. And when we're talking about sun dried with a washed coffee, it means that they've removed all the fruit and the mucilage before they dry it in the sun. I just wanted to, is that distinction correct, Bob?
Yeah, I think, generally speaking, that's accurate. But just to throw a little something out there, one of the things that I know is being done now is there's been people that will give the cherries, the whole cherries, a soak or a quick wash before they then put the cherries on the drying bed.
Makes sense.
So
yeah,
it doesn't necessarily go straight from the tree to the elevated bed. And there's people that are experimenting with how much time, perhaps in a soaking environment or washed cherries before going ahead and sun drying them. So there's a lot of variables that people are playing around with, and like I said, a lot of them are paying big dividends, and I think we were really seeing it with some of the improved qualities of these natural processed coffees. They can be wild, right? You can get some pretty wild, big fruity flavors coming off these coffees, and historically you would get some stuff that perhaps would make you do a little like
funky.
But and we'd often say, we get phone calls from customers who are like, oh, I brewed up a couple of Barrage, something just seems a little off or a little crazy about it, and it's like, brew another pot. There's going to be a chance or an opportunity for there to be some inconsistencies there. I think a lot of that has changed. I think the expectation now is, these coffees are natural process, but you should still be getting consistency from cup to cup.
Hey, Bob, we have a Facebook question here that came in about that very issue. The person is saying, I hear a lot about funky fermentation. Can you help me understand what that means? Like, so when we reference that, what is that talking about?
Yeah, so funky fermentation, the funky. I've actually heard producers use that term. And people are really pushing the envelope in terms of how much fermentation we want to have occur on these natural processed coffees. You can do things you can extend drying times. You can extend. I've seen people like pull covers over the cherries to allow them to kind of cook and stew a little bit more. And this can impart more of a fruity. I'm gonna steer clear of some other descriptions, but it's kind of that level of fruitiness that you're gonna experience in the cup. The funky one, get fermenty flavors at times.
Yeah, I know it is a fine line there with that ferment quality, right? I think, and I'm sure that like a Q grader has a very different set of words and terms that they would use. And that is, I thought that was, yeah, Tia asking that question. Because I remember we had that Costa Rican coffee that was a natural version. We offered it both as washed and natural, the same coffee from the same farmer. And I remember there was a quality that I would call like ferment, like actual alcohol, like whiskey quality that was really delicious. But clearly a process at some point of literal fermentation going on with that coffee. But I can see, like, yeah, you wouldn't want that to go further, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think you hit on something there, Josh, that I'd like to talk or kind of at least mention. Historically speaking, origins that had access to a lot of water did washed coffees. Origins that perhaps had less water readily available, those were the origins that did more natural processed coffees, right? So you're talking Ethiopia, Brazil was one that historically did a lot of natural process. But what we've been seeing is, even in countries where for 100 years they've been doing 100% washed processed coffees, producers are now doing it different ways, and they're doing it fully washed, full naturals. And we talk about, you mentioned removing mucilage from the seed or from the what eventually becomes our green coffee. Sometimes they'll partially do that, right? And this is how we get into what we call those pulp naturals or demucilaged, or the honey process that we've talked about. And you can really experiment with how much mucilage you leave on that seed. So there's one end of the spectrum. This is kind of how I explain this to employees when we go through this training: is you have your fully washed coffee, traditionally fermented coffee, which is the way that coffee had been processed for generations. At the other end of the spectrum, you have the full naturals, where you just take it off the tree and dry it. Some places they'd even let it dry on the tree.
Yeah.
So, and then everything in between is what we're looking at right now, and it's pulp naturals, honey processed, demucilaged, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different terms that people will use to describe these processes that they're doing.
Yeah, and I know we also got to witness on a trip recently even other types of experimentation going on with the barrels and the fermentations that are being created in the barrels, if you recall that.
Where do you want to start or stop, right? So the anaerobics, right? Yeah. So instead of doing things in open containers when we're doing that fermentation process, people are doing it in closed systems, and it becomes anaerobic fermentation at that point, meaning it's not just free exchange between the outside environment and what's going on in your fermentation vessel. There's cold fermentations that are occurring right now, cold anaerobic, where you'll take those barrels and you'll actually put them in a big walk-in refrigerator to really kind of slow that process down. So people are, there's a lot of different stuff. And, you mentioned that kind of boozy quality that you experience when tasting that natural process. And, whiskey, we've had that whiskey descriptor at times. One of the common threads that I feel like I've experienced with some of these cold fermentation processes is it often does have a little bit of a boozy quality to it. Flambe, I've had the experience where it's like a real sweet, almost dessert like bananas with flaming
rum,
flaming booze on it. Yeah, there you go. So Yeah, real wide range of flavors here. So, and we're just looking at, one origin. Um, we have, like you said, brought in natural processed coffee from other origins. For the most part, most of them have been from Ethiopia.
Well, the good news, I think, that I always like to explain to folks is that we do have a lot of this experimentation occurring, and it just takes a time, and it takes working with coffee growing partners. And the key point at that, and kind of the choke point, is of course that it comes to you, and you get to taste it, right? So that we can make sure that we have one palate addressing this coffee and these experiments as before they obviously go to market with the Batdorf name on them.
Yeah, and this is something that over the years I've expressed with coworkers and customers alike. Everybody has different tastes, right? Everybody likes different things. And one of the biggest challenges I have as the buyer always is not just, picking the coffees that I think are the best coffees, but picking the coffees that I think our customers will appreciate. And there is a pretty loyal following customers that many aspects of our life we talk about those love-hate relationships, right? People either really love something or there's people that will feel the opposite. And I do think that natural processed coffees have a way of kind of dividing people into two camps. But that being said, there's a much wider variety now, I think, of flavors than perhaps there has been in the past in terms of those processes. And it's, when you start tweaking some of these variables and then you start tweaking probably the biggest variable, which is, where the coffee comes from.
Right.
Is it a natural process from Ethiopia? Is it a natural process from Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Brazil? Obviously, these things will have huge impacts on cup profile.
Right. Starting all the way down at, is it small lot farmers? Is it an estate? Is it a single producer? All those controls will go into the sorting.
Different varieties, is it a Caturra? Is it a Java? Is it a Bourbon, right? All these things impact the cup profile. I will say that natural versus wash process is one of the biggest ones, right? That is going to drastically alter what you experience when you drink these coffees.
So, speaking of which, have you gotten
let's drink some coffee?
Yeah, let's taste some of that coffee. Tell us what you think when you're going
through
along.
These. So like I said, I got 4 naturals, 2 washed. Some of the names are names that we've heard before. I'm just going to throw a couple out there. There's a Worka, there's a Sasaba, there's Limu, Sidamo, there's the Burka Gudina. There's different producing groups and different regions here. So there's some variable, and we're just going to have to, move through it. And ultimately, at this point, I'm tasting the stuff and I'm thinking about what it is I know our customers appreciate and, trying to find one that fits the bill.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Harar that we're currently selling is from the previous crop cycle. So this is something that's going to come in and be pretty fresh, pretty new. Really, give people a jolt when they drink. I hope.
Yeah, I know it's people are commenting on the feed here just about how they're experiencing the quality changes and the differentiation changes in fermentation for naturals and how they've evolved and improved in so many ways. I know when I first met Bob, we went to have lunch, and I was just talking about my first coffee that kind of got me into wanting to be in coffee, and it was a natural process Yemeni coffee. And I just mentioned to Bob, yeah, I love naturals, and there was just a beat where Bob just kind of looked at me for a second, and then we kept on talking. Because I tell everybody, like, yeah, I'm a natural. I like naturals. The trick though is I like about an 8-ounce cup of natural brewed coffee. I wouldn't want necessarily multiple cups because it can be such a flavor, kind of a flavor bomb or flavor explosion, right? It's enjoyable, and I often think of them as something I want to have after a meal. Bob's talking about that flambe quality from an anaerobic processing. That would be perfect, right? I remember when we had that natural, I totally enjoyed having it to have with my desserts.
Yeah, I think there's a coffee for every palate, and there's coffee for every time. And yes, I definitely feel like there are coffees that I just want to have one cup of, and there are coffees that I want to start my day with and keep drinking all day long. I think if you refer to some of our coffee reports, there's always a comment there in the cup characteristics and tasting profile about it's an all-day drinker, or experience this cup with your favorite dessert.
Yeah,
and it's what we love about what it is we're doing, right? There's always a time and a place to really have an experience and enjoy what we're tasting. So
there's some comments coming in here from folks right here that I found the Gucci bright and sweet with no bad qualities. The hashtag natural for life. I think we're bringing out the natural lovers in the feed today.
Hey, bring them on.
Yeah.
Bobs, when I have these conversations with retail managers, and people are passionate. We like passion.
Yeah, that's right.
We're passionate. Yep. We're passionate about the products we sell, as we expect our customers to be as well. So it's wonderful. I love it.
Okay, so you were about to say before I just got a bunch of comments just came in with I love the Gucci. The Gucci's amazing. I love the naturals. Okay, we get it. We're just putting out there that it, as Bob had said, can be a little bit polarizing because the flavors are very distinct and very unique. Yeah. Okay, so Bob, did I lose you there? There you are. You're back.
Yeah, I had a call coming in that I had to decline.
No worries.
So yeah, there's a lot to look at, and Gucci, Gucci is something that I've noticed people have really kind of gravitated towards. There's a lot to name. And I have a couple of those here as well. So, we're gonna get something that's hopefully gonna satisfy people's desires.
So, first thoughts on the table there. What do you got going on there? Anything that stood out?
Like I said, I got 4 naturals. There is one that's jumping out at me as being good, real nice. A lot of that heavy peach, not just red, cherry or grapey qualities, which I think is something that I'll often get from the naturals. The naturals that I tend to gravitate towards are naturals that have a little bit more complexity. Perhaps they're not as fruit forward as I've experienced. And yeah, so let me yeah, a lot of nectarine, stone fruit-like flavors, which is often something that we will describe some washed coffees, Yurchefs and Sidamos and such. For those flavors, I would describe those as a little bit more delicate flavors to show up in natural processed coffee is a good thing in my book, versus that heavy grape, Concord grape, dark berries, blueberry. Obviously, we use the blueberry descriptor a lot for Harar. Yeah, it's nice. I like that one. A couple of the others are, they're all good. I'm detecting a little age in a couple of them, which is surprising, considering these are new deliveries of coffee. Yeah. So the two washed coffees that are on the table, everyone knows I gravitate towards washed coffees. I like those cleaner, more delicate flavors. I like to have to dig a little. To me, there's more complexity there. They're both good. I do have a preference on one of them. You probably noticed I'm kind of shying away from saying it.
Yeah.
Right now, just because I will be providing direct feedback to the producers or to the people that are trying to sell these coffees. But there's some good stuff here on the table for sure. Ethiopia it's one of the best coffee producers in the world. It's where coffee was born, right? The flavors are truly unique, truly distinct, and great quality. This year was the first year that there was a Ethiopian Cup of Excellence, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that there were hundreds of coffees submitted and hundreds of coffees that passed those initial screenings and tests that were all scoring really, really high. I couldn't imagine being a judge on a jury in Ethiopia, knowing full well that if you get 20 coffees on the table in front of you, you're going to have 20 coffees that are all going to score 87 plus, and you're going to have to, distinguish between them. That's tough work. That's a tough job.
I'll let you know, as is continuing to happen, the Washed for Life has now become an official hashtag. So we're going to probably see that coming up in our
Washed for Life. Okay.
Yeah, Washed for Life.
Hey, we do what we need to do.
Another fan on Facebook asked, how about having two in the lineup? One strawberry bomb and one more subtle. We will drink them all. And then they put in, yes. I had to try.
Yeah, so the strawberry bomb, the fruit bomb, those are experiences that every coffee drinker should have. And back to your original, I got a dog that's doing some mischievous things right now.
All right, I think we could probably wrap up and return to our dogs and our coffees.
Here at some point.
And as the Facebook stream is starting to devolve into the natural zealots, probably best for us to just leave it with, we have some great options coming down the line, and you're going to make the best choice.
We got some great coffees on the way. And, everybody, I love hearing about that experience when people first have a cup of this coffee, and it really does. It completely changes their perception of what coffee should taste like. And Ethiopian coffees are usually the reason for that. They're unique, truly unique and lovely coffees.
Here we are, 1,000 years later, and Ethiopian coffee is still waking us up, right, and transforming our lives. That's great.
I can't wait. I can't wait to go back and look at the broadcast and read some of the comments that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, Bob knows how I feel. I love washed fruit bomb, and so Krista says that. And now the hashtag Gucci for life is showing up. There are definitely
Gucci for life. Okay, so we got natural. All right. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna try and keep everybody happy. You know, that's good.
Yeah,
I'll do my best.
Yeah, you'll be able to see the actual beat. Now, remember, we're across multiple Facebook pages, so you might have to go to the different pages to see where people are coming from. But yeah, the natural has piqued interest. So, but it might just be that we're a loud minority. So that's all.
Yeah. Hey, 10% of the population makes 90% of the noise, right?
There you go. Bob, thanks so much for letting us come into your tasting lab today.
Yeah, as always, thanks for having me, and we'll follow up on this here in the near future, and hopefully I can get some samples spread around so other people can have this. You know, this is what really, obviously, I miss doing this with people live, you know, at the roastery. Yeah. Customers, coworkers alike. These are conversations that I'm always having with coworkers. And once again, everybody has their. I guarantee if I put 6 different coffees on the board in the lab and had people, you know, all right, tell me which one's your favorite, and I have, you know, 18 different people in the room with 6 different coffees, I'm probably going to have 3 votes for each of the 6 different coffees.
It's going to be your money would be on figuring out the spread than a winner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your morning, and hello to everybody and goodbye to everybody there nationwide. I appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Appreciate you being here, and you and I can talk about what the next cupping might look like. So I'll reach out to you later today or tomorrow.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Yeah.
Folks, so that was awesome, and it's great to see all my natural folks doing the call out here. Yes, I am a natural lover, and what's been really important for me to understand is the care that goes into choosing those coffees. So as people have said in the comments along here, it's true. We have had, you know, great evolution in the world of natural processing, whether they're in Latin America or in Africa or even in Asia Pacific. Natural processing is a constantly evolving set of skills, and that means that all of the work that goes into before we even get the samples has increased its intensity in order to make those coffees of higher quality. So that's great news for those of us who like the natural processed coffees, and it gives us a wide variety to begin to taste and experience. And so all of that work is important. And then, you know, we have folks who are right there in the cupping lab, the coffee team, tasting those coffees, and really trying to consider what will make a good choice for our customers. So thank you for your feedback. It's always great. I know Krista is jumping in as retail leader in Olympia, and you know those folks in the retail stores in Olympia, in Atlanta, soon to be Tacoma. They're the ones who hear from our customers when we're talking about the coffees that we have for them, the whole bean coffees that are available in those stores. And we know that there are camps of people who have their beloved coffees. I know Mexico, is our Mexican organic Mexican coffee has a group of people who just love it and ask about it constantly. Same thing with the naturals. So it's great to hear from you and hear the passion out there. We do have a lovely Harar available. A link is in the comments down below. You can check that out. Search for it. And we will let you know as Bob makes a decision on the next coffees coming out of New Crop Africa, what that's going to be. A great place to learn about that would be over at the Batdorf and Bronson VIP Club, which we will put a link in right now down below. Join the VIP Club, and then we actually get information out to those folks earlier than we broadcast here on our standard Facebook pages, Twitter page, etc. So if you want a little heads up on what's coming down and then special deals on those coffees as well, go over and join that page. I know that Brendan is also about to, I think, announce a winner of our our mug shot challenge, which is being held, which is you taking pictures of your coffee outdoors, as we're all spending more time outdoors now, not just because it's summer, but also because it allows us to go out and enjoy some sociability in a safer environment, considering the COVID pandemic that we're all dealing with right now. So if you're heading outdoors and you're bringing coffee with you, I hope it's our coffee. Of course, you probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't. And if you want to be a part of some of those little contests, go over and join the VIP group on Facebook, and we'd love to have you there as well. It's a great little community of folks. Remember, if you're watching this and you want to try the Harar or any coffees or anything, to please use the code right over here, which is the Watch and Learn 10, which gets you 10% off of your purchases online. So tomorrow I'm going to be at the La Marzocco store in Ballard. I have some great customers that are thinking about a machine. We're going to go try one out there. La Marzocco has done an amazing job to prepare a space for customers to come and get their hands on the machines. Now, that was always the way things were with them. Amazing customer service from our partners at La Marzocco. We've had a relationship with Kent and his team for 30 plus years, right? As most people in coffee have. And anytime that someone was interested in a La Marzocco espresso machine, we get to take them right there to Ballard if they're local here, and go into the showroom floor and really try out a machine, put it through its paces. Things have been a little more difficult, right, with COVID. But the La Marzocco team came together and came up with a process whereby we're going to be able to bring in some customers, some of our wholesale customers, to try that machine out in a safe environment that's safe for La Marzocco, safe for our customers, and us, of course, as well. So I'm excited to be there tomorrow. I'm going to try and create a little something for you to take a look inside of there as well. I'll have to have some discussions with them when we're there live, because I do not want to interfere with the process. And also, my first concern is working with my customer, but I'd love for you all to see it as well. And I'd love for you to see this machine especially. So I'm letting all of my espresso machine folks know, not just La Marzocco, also our friends at Rocket and Nova Simonelli, we'd love to work with you in producing content for our Facebook page and for these live videos. We have a lot of fun doing it, and we love helping out our partners along the way. So tune in tomorrow for that. I will have something for you. And as far as today is concerned, I hope you continue to have a great day as we continue learning how to turn our homes into cafes.